Picture this. You're at a wedding, holding a glass of something sparkling you didn't even want, and someone leans in. Soft voice, sharp assumption. So, when is it your turn? You smile. You do the polite little laugh. You say something safe. But inside, something in you tightens. Not because you're afraid you'll be alone, but because you can feel the box they're trying to fold you into. And here's the part nobody says out loud. For some people, choosing not to marry isn't a failure of love. It's a form of self-trust. In the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you the hidden psychology behind that choice, and the two very different reasons it can form. Because one of them is freedom, and the other is armor.
Here's the core pattern. Named in plain language, you're choosing a life structure that protects your identity, not your image, not your brand, your actual self. And there are two psychological mechanisms that often sit underneath this choice. First, autonomy protective attachment. That's when closeness feels best when it's chosen, flexible, and breathable, not legally locked, not socially policed, not shaped by someone else's timeline. You can love deeply, but you need room inside the love. It looks like independence, but it's actually precision. You know the conditions under which your heart stays open. Second, risk calibration. Your brain is always doing math. How much could this cost me? Not just money, energy, freedom, caregiving load, emotional labor, safety, time, selfhood. You may not call it fear. You may call it realism. And here's what's strange. Sometimes risk calibration is wisdom, and sometimes it's a scar. Do you avoid marriage because you don't believe in it, or because you don't believe you'll be okay inside it? Do you feel relief when you imagine never marrying, or do you feel numb? Do you crave partnership, but hate the idea of being claimed? And in a minute, we're going to trace where it comes from, without shaming either version. Most people think the origin story is simple: heartbreak, bad dating, commitment issues. But the real origin story is usually quieter. It forms in the background through observation, pressure, and what your nervous system was trained to expect. Origin 1. You watched marriage cost someone their self. Picture this. You're a kid in a kitchen. The light is yellow. The air feels heavy. One parent is doing everything, cooking, cleaning, smoothing moods, while the other one is there, but not really there. And you don't have the language for it, but you can feel it, the slow erosion. The way a person becomes smaller to keep the peace. So your brain makes a vow without words: I will not disappear inside love. That vow can become your identity: I'm not the marrying type. But underneath it is often something tender: I want love without self-erasure. And here's the part nobody mentions. Marriage isn't just romance. It's a social role. And roles come with expectations, some spoken, many not. Pew Research has noted how Americans remain attached to the idea of family even as marriage patterns change, meaning the symbolism stays powerful even when the behavior shifts. If you've chosen not to marry, I want you to hear this with your whole chest. You are not unfinished. You are not afraid of love by definition. You are not a problem waiting to be solved. Sometimes you are a person with a nervous system that values space. Sometimes you are a person who watched what marriage did to the people you loved, and you decided you would not be swallowed. Sometimes you are a person building a life that actually fits, and that is not selfish. That is integrity. And if quietly you're realizing that part of your choice has been armor, that doesn't make you wrong. It makes you human. It means you learn to survive. Now you can learn to belong on your terms. Because the real marker of emotional health isn't whether you marry. It's whether you can be close without disappearing, and alone without collapsing. That's the work. That's the win. If this video felt like a mirror, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's the biggest misconception people project onto you about not marrying? And what's the truth underneath it? The turning point isn't you suddenly deciding to get married. The turning point is subtler. It's the moment you stop performing a debate inside your own chest. Picture this, it's a quiet night. You're home. Everything is how you like it. Your lighting, your space, your schedule. And you feel proud, and then out of nowhere you feel something else. A flicker. A question. Not, should I have married? But, is my life built around what I love, or around what I fear? That question is where you grow. Because you can choose not to marry and still practice. Letting yourself be known. Letting yourself be helped. Letting love touch your life in forms that don't require paperwork. And you can choose to marry someday and still practice. Keeping your selfhood intact. Not shrinking to be. Chosen, building a relationship that honors autonomy. Here's what's strange. The world tries to make marriage the finish line. But psychologically, the real finish line is secure belonging. The felt sense that you can be connected and yourself. And if you've chosen not to marry, your turning point might be this. You stop explaining your choice like it needs approval. You start living it like it's true. Next, I'm going to give you practical steps that don't assume one life path and don't patronize you with put yourself out there. We're going to build something more precise, a life architecture that supports your identity and your future. These are specific, doable steps designed for high-agency people who sometimes forget they're allowed to need things. Step 1. Name your why in one sentence and retire the courtroom speech. Not a thesis, not a defense. One clean sentence you can live inside. Something like, marriage doesn't fit my values and I'm building a life that does. Or, I'm open to love, but I'm not outsourcing my identity to a role. If you can't say it simply, it might still feel like something you have to justify. Step 2. Build distributed intimacy on purpose. Choose 3-5 people where you practice real closeness, the kind with honesty, requests, repair, and consistency. Because if your life doesn't include marriage, your support system needs to be intentional, not accidental. And pay attention, this isn't about having more acquaintances. It's about having a few places where your nervous system can rest. If marriage comes with built-in legal defaults, then choosing not to marry means you create your own defaults. Think medical decision maker, beneficiaries, emergency contacts, a basic will, shared housing agreements if relevant. This isn't pessimism. This is love for your future body. This also gently pushes back against the cultural myth that unmarried sex unprotected. Step 4. Practice receiving in microdoses. If you're strong, you might be overtrained in giving and undertrained in receiving. So pick one small thing this week. Let someone bring you something. Let someone help you with an errand. Let someone know you're having a hard day without packaging it as a joke. Contrast pair, it looks like weakness, but it's actually relational skill. This is your behavioral experiment. Tiny, brave, repeatable. Next time someone asks, so, when are you getting married? Try a calm, friendly truth with a full stop. I'm not planning to. I'm happy with my life. Then stop talking. The exposure isn't the sentence. The exposure is tolerating the silence afterward, without rushing to earn your own legitimacy. Audit your motivations. Freedom versus fear. Here's your journaling prompt. Take 10 minutes. No polishing. Journaling prompt. If nobody judged me, And if I trusted I would be supported either way, what would I choose about love, partnership, and commitment? What parts of my current stance are freedom and what parts are protection? Let the answer be messy. You're not confessing. You're clarifying. Step 7. Design a meaning anchor that isn't romantic. Marriage often functions as a meaning anchor, an organizing story. So give yourself an anchor on purpose, a mission, a craft, a community role, a creative project, a long-term learning path, a service commitment, not as a substitute, as a declaration, my life has a center. Now, last section, ending relief. Because the goal isn't to convince you of any one choice, it's to give you your choice back. This section is going to feel like a mirror, and every 60 seconds I'm going to offer you a choice point, because the goal isn't to label you, it's to help you understand how you move through the world. 1, you don't want a forever promise, you want a true promise. You don't crave permanence, you crave honesty. Deeper truth, you may have watched people promise forever and then live like strangers. So now, you value alignment over ceremony. But here's the part nobody mentions. Sometimes your refusal of forever is actually a refusal of disappointment. You build a life that doesn't require someone else to function. You are structurally self-sufficient. Deeper truth, you've designed your days so you don't have to negotiate your survival, finances, routines, home, travel, ambition. And pay attention to this. Self-sufficiency can be freedom, or it can be a way to never ask for help. Self-diagnosis moment. When you imagine needing someone, do you feel warmth or do you feel shame? And if you want a next deep dive, tell me which one you want. The psychology of people who choose long-term partnership without living together, or the psychology of people who feel single but not alone. If you found this useful, subscribe for more calm, honest pop psychology that doesn't reduce you to a stereotype. And if you want to support the channel and keep these deep dives coming, there's a membership link in the description. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're building.